video for your final project. The one I'm going to actually demonstrate is going to be the bird's eye view of a city, which is very similar to your name in 1 point perspective. The floating museum is exactly like the 2 activities that we just did, but you would be adding more stacks and more layers. So you would take this and attach it to this. And you can get more complicated that way. So depending on what you felt more familiar with, your name in 1 point, I would lean towards a bird's eye view of the city. If you felt comfortable doing the 2 point stacking piercing, again, selecting the floating art museum. The floating art museum, the final piece is done in colored pencil, and it will have tonal gradations and color gradations. There are numerous examples as well, student examples on Google Classroom. So for right now, I'm going to get started with the bird's eye view. And again, if you have larger paper, I would prefer a larger size paper. But if not, in a pinch, you can just use regular computer paper. The way that you're going to start is you're going to start with just basic shapes on your paper. So I might have a circular building. I might decide I'm going to have a building that's going to be slightly behind. That's going to be a square. I might decide that I want to have a rectangular building. And I also might get creative. I do want you to have some that are overlapping one another, and you see that here in the example. They're doing L cutout shapes, so you can get as creative as you want with the shape of the building. But the way you start is you start with the tops, okay, which are basic shapes. And I'm gonna just add one more for the sake of having an overlap for you guys, so you can see how that works. You would obviously fill out your space because you're gonna wanna end up with a dense city. But for keeping the video short, I'm just gonna begin. So I'm gonna decide where I want my vanishing point. You could have your vanishing point in a lower area, like lower here, and then rotate your city above it. You could have your vanishing point here and have your buildings all more to the right, and that will be up to you. You'll make those decisions. So now I'm just gonna finish my shapes in 1 point perspective, just like I finished off my name. Remember, anything that cuts through your building, which this is gonna be a basic cube, you are not going to draw. So I'll check this corner, nope. And I'll check this corner, nope. Now, I do need to end this building. And then I'm gonna erase my extensions back to the vanishing point. This becomes important because you don't want to have buildings that appear to be floating in front of one another, and I'll demonstrate that. Remember, with a curve, you have to find your edge, so I may need to erase some of my square behind, just a little bit, because this is going to block it from view. And very similar to the name, whatever is in the front, you echo in the back. So this is a curve. So for me to end this, I need to have a curved line. I know that's not the best line, but. And then again, I would erase my extensions. Now I'm gonna take a look at this. This building is behind this one. So I'm gonna start my extensions. Now, I would not want to end it. Let me just show you what you don't wanna do. You don't wanna end it and then my imaginary line is over here because I'm imagining the corner and lining up. If I did something like this and then make this parallel, notice now my circular building appears to be floating in front of this. Now that's not realistic because the shapes that are further away, they must end further from the vanishing point than the shape that is closer. So the baseline that is here, the baseline for this building must be further than from the vanishing point, if that makes sense. Like this is closer, and I want to say this one's further, so it has to be higher. So that is where things get a little bit complicated. So you'll want to really kind of end your buildings one by one as you rotate around the page prior to doing stacks and doing windows, etc. So I would continue around with my buildings, and you can make them get really short in the background as they go back from your vanishing point. They can be smaller, not as tall as the buildings in the front. Now I'm going to check every corner. Nope, can't draw it. So if I want this to be on the same level as that, so the same distance, then I can just find where the base is here. And remember, I have to do whatever's in front. So I'm going to do like this. And then I'm going to line up here, and I'm going to drag back. So remember, whatever is the top shape, the bottom will echo that line. And then I would continue around. And again, I want this one to seem like it's behind. So I'm not going to have the end part here. It has to be further from the vanishing point than that end point. So like this. Now, what I want to talk to you about is some basic stacks. So if I wanted to put a circular stack right on top of here, I would offset it slightly because remember I have to do my extensions. And then I'm going to repeat drawing this back to the vanishing point. Give yourself a little bit of space so it's not totally lined up with the edge of your building. And then you would end it, and you would do a curved line to echo what's on top. Maybe I need a little bit more of a curve. And you could add things on top. You can add, maybe you want to add another square stack. Maybe you want to make it look like there's some sort of antenna coming out of here. And you could do that. And then you would just erase your mark here. Now, the main thing about the windows, and you can do all different sorts of windows, it's up to you, and you do want to vary them because if you have them all the same, then the buildings kind of blend together. The main thing is that you want all of your windows going down the building, which would be your verticals down the building, must go to the vanishing point. And you can measure, give yourself some rough measurements if you want to have them evenly spaced every time. And then if you wanted, I should have made that wider, but just to finish showing you, if you want to, depending on how you want these windows to be, remember anything that is following the shape is going to be parallel to your front shape. So, you know, maybe I do it like this, and I have every other one being an actual window, and this could be the stucco in between. Just make sure you're staying parallel. Like this. Now you could add things like, oh, I want to make it look like the windows are reflective. You can add some hatch marks. Now this one is to be done in ink. You can use a black ballpoint pen. If you have a uniball pen, that's up to you. I would also like you to add trees. You must have stacks, you must have windows, and other urban details that you can add. You can go in and add in a little street to complete your city. But again, remember that it must be done and completed in black pen, whether it's a regular ballpoint pen or a uniball pen. Now, when you go to complete your floating museum, you will be doing that in color, and you must include tonal gradations and color gradations. The bird's eye view of a city is a 1-point perspective activity, and the floating museum is a 2-point. If you want to get really into it, you could have the top or bottom of your floating museum going to the 3rd point, and then I would be really blown away. So have fun. When you finish, upload your assignment.